A very good evening. This is GBS News 9 coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and together we'll be taking you through the stories making headlines tonight. But first, here are the highlights.
Yeah, the rules are very, very strict. The exams they've got some security features. The papers are secured. We are ensuring that there are no phones in any particular center, and if you find somebody is insisting that they want to be there with the phone, it is an offense.
Finally, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations kick off as over 900,000 students gear up to write their exams in a 3-week exercise countrywide.
There is no doubt that the Supreme Court has not been short of critics during the past 12 years. Its decisions have been and will be debated and dissected vigorously. And in a number of cases, disagreements will linger for long. Nevertheless, it would be unduly pessimistic to overlook the court's clear efforts to interpret the Constitution with wisdom, reinforcing pillars of democracy, justice, equality, freedom, good governance, accountability, and the rule of law in a very robust way with immense clarity.
Justice be our shield and defender. Supreme Court of Kenya marks its 12 years since it was created and embedded in the new constitutional dispensation of 2010. Kenya-China ties. Ruto holds talk with Li Shi, a member of the political bureau of the Communist Party of China, in the wake of a controversial debate on the presidential term limit extension. Just what is cooking? And in sports, Kenya's debutant Sheila Chepkirui wins the women's title in this year's New York Marathon edition, clocking 2 hours, 24 minutes and 35 seconds. To begin our bulletin, over 900,000 learners commenced the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education theory papers this morning as the examination body assured that all is set for the test, which will run for the next 3 weeks. Here is more on the same. The 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education has kicked off for the main papers, with over 900,000 students sitting for the exam. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba has issued a stern warning to anyone intending to compromise the credibility of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations.
This year, the rules are very, very strict. The exams they've got some security features. The papers are secured. We are ensuring that there are no phones in any particular center, and if you find somebody is insisting that they want to be there with the phone, it is an offense.
While some papers like home science and computer science were taken last week, today marked the main commencement of the national exercise, and candidates sat for English and chemistry papers. This year's examinations are being conducted under new rules where supervisors must rotate the centers every week. Examination containers will be open nationwide at 7 a.m. daily under strict supervision to check against early exposure of the exam papers.
We have not had any major security incident to be worried about, and we expect that this is going to be the situation throughout the rest of the coming days.
Today, the candidates wrote the English Functional Skills paper during the morning hours, while Chemistry Paper 1 was administered in the afternoon. Mathematics Paper 1 will be done on Tuesday morning, and later on in the afternoon, the candidates will write English Comprehension Paper. On Wednesday, the students will sit for Chemistry Paper 2 and English Paper 3 during the morning and afternoon hours, respectively. Kiswahili Lugha Paper 2 and Kiswahili Insha Paper 1 will be done on Thursday. Students will on Friday tackle chemistry practicals, being Paper 3. On November 11th, they will sit for Mathematics Paper 2 and Kiswahili Fasihi Paper 3 among others.
275 invigilators over the next 3 weeks of this examination, and we are putting all our hopes on you to deliver a credible examination.
According to the Kenya National Examinations Council, the 2024 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education Examination timetable, the last day of the national examinations will be November 22nd, when the candidates will sit for the physics practical. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has announced a significant new initiative to address gender-based violence by constructing safe houses for victims, responding to an alarming increase in the femicides across the country. Partnering with Women Representative Esther Passaris, Sakaja revealed plans to establish protected spaces in the city to shelter those affected by domestic violence, starting with an already operational safe house in Gigiri funded by the national government Affirmative Action Fund. The announcement follows a disturbing recent discovery of human remains linked to femicide, underscoring the urgency of the crisis. Meanwhile, President William Ruto faces growing pressure both domestically and internationally to intensify efforts to protect human rights and address enforced disappearances and arbitrary arrests, as foreign diplomats call for accountability and rule of law in Kenya. Susan Nganga with a full report.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has unveiled a plan to establish safe houses for victims of domestic violence, marking a step forward in the fight against gender-based violence in Kenya. This initiative comes in response to a rise in femicide cases, highlighted by the recent discovery of human remains at Langata Cemetery. Speaking at the 73rd anniversary of the African Divine Church, Sakaja announced his office's partnership with Woman Representative Esther Passaris to open secure spaces for those affected by violence, with the first safe house already operational in Gigiri.
Mambo ya femicide. Wanaume jameni, itabidi sisi sasa ndo tuanze kutetea kina mama. Mambo unapata mama ameitwa amechinjwa. Ameitwa na boyfriend mahali ameuliwa. Tuache kusema ati suluhisho ni kuambia wasichana wakutane na mtu wa aina hii ama hii. Do not blame the victim. There is no justification of killing a female or anybody in our country. So pamoja na Esther tunatengeneza safe house. Kama uko kwa nyumba na unapigwa, usivumilie hapo. Usivumilie. Kwa sababu kesho utauliwa. Tuko na safe house tumejenga kule Gigiri. Amejenga na NGCDF, nimeka pesa ya county. Ati unasema ati atabadilika huyu mtu, ati alikuwa amekunywa. Ati alikuwa ameangalia. Kesho tuko pamoja. Kesho atakuua.
The governor also made a poignant plea to President William Ruto, appealing for more support in combating violence against women.
Your Excellency, you are here. The women of Nairobi are crying. The women of Kenya are crying. Tuwapatie security, tuangalie mambo ya polisi wetu, mambo ya surveillance. Juzi tumepata wengine hapo Langata Cemetery. It is very disheartening and it is time for us to take a stand.
The president, while addressing the issue, blamed the crisis on a combination of moral decay and criminal activity. However, he reassured the country of the government's determination to address the issue.
How can it be that our girls, the women of Kenya, that expect us to love them, that now they are dying in the hands of men? We have a criminal problem and we have a moral problem. We need to address both of them. As government, I want to promise you we will go out of our way, provide resources for our police to deal with this challenge. But equally, as parents, starting with myself, as parents, as Kenyans, we must also deal with the moral issue.
President Ruto not only faces local pressure, but also faces pressure from the international community. Foreign nations are pressuring him to rein in those involved in the abduction and to safeguard the rights of Kenyans and foreigners who seek refuge. In a joint statement, this nation urged the Kenyan government to commit to accountability and uphold judicial independence. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
President William Ruto has urged the judiciary to exercise restraint on national and public interest matters in an effort to prevent individuals and groups whose goal is to advance their sectarian agenda. The president noted that the line between public interest and populist politics can be blurred, saying, "We live in a complex and dynamic era characterized by agenda pushed through social media and anonymous individuals." He said the judiciary has a role to play in helping the country curb politics of personality, ethnicity, and populism, and promote politics based on issues and programs. He made the remarks during the official opening of the Supreme Court of Kenya, a 12th conference at the Supreme Court grounds in Nairobi. The conference was to mark 12 years since the establishment of the court. The president was accompanied by Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, and Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja. Chief Justice Martha Koome and her deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu were also present. Chief Justice Koome called for political solutions to political problems, stating that politicians should only come to court as a last resort. She assured Kenyans of the judiciary's commitment to justice, promising to be a champion of the Constitution and the rule of law.
Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, Deputy Chief. Deputy Chief.
I really want us to appreciate the judiciary of the Republic of Kenya. Because, Your Excellency, without them, this would not be a destination for investment. We congratulate you for the number of years that you've had. We have had ups and downs in this country, but everyone has always known that there will be objectivity in your findings. But your objectivity also must not mean popularity. It must mean just doing the right thing. I was thinking this morning when I came, what does it feel like to be a judge of the Supreme Court? I don't know, Emeritus Mutunga, how does it feel like? Chief Justice Maraga, it's almost a godlike, the finality of your decision. You know, I would draw you to one of the points by Khalil Gibran on punishment and crime.
While the arms of government are independent, we serve the same citizens and the same republic. And as such, inevitably, all arms are interdependent. I urge each of us gathered here, within the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, to champion this spirit of interdependence in our approach to public service. As members of the judiciary, I also urge you to continue taking a firm stance against corruption. The Supreme Court has the power to set precedents and to reinforce the standards of integrity and fairness that echo through all sectors of our government.
Over the past 12 years, the Supreme Court has played a transformative role in shaping both Kenya's jurisprudence and shaping our country's socio-political development. This court's landmark judgments have influenced the daily lives of Kenyans while reinforcing the core principles of our democracy. Through hearing and determining 4 presidential election petitions over the last 3 election cycles, the court has set critical benchmarks for conducting free, fair, and transparent elections. Likewise, through the landmark advisory opinions on devolution and the relationship between the bicameral houses of parliament, the Supreme Court has developed guiding frameworks that clarify interactions between the National Assembly and the Senate, reinforcing devolution as a cornerstone of our transformative constitution.
While the Supreme Court and the other courts, especially the High Court also, and the Court of Appeal, have helped us start developing crucial jurisprudence on important issues like public participation, like public interest, and how we handle the tensions between these broad interests with individual rights and freedoms, which are also powerfully protected in our Bill of Rights. I, as a student of law, I'll be interested to, going forward, hear or learn what the Supreme Court and the other superior courts will tell us about, beyond public interest, whether there are other higher interests. And I'm saying this with a bit of bias, Your Excellency, because it's in the public domain. I'm the immediate security minister for our country after you appointed me 2 years ago. And during those 2 years, I have had to ask myself whether the highest interest is the public interest, or there is a higher interest called the national interest.
There is no doubt that the Supreme Court has not been short of critics during the past 12 years. Its decisions have been and will be debated and dissected vigorously. And in a number of cases, disagreements will linger for long. Nevertheless, it would be unduly pessimistic to overlook the court's clear efforts to interpret the Constitution with wisdom, reinforcing pillars of democracy, justice, equality, freedom, good governance, accountability, and the rule of law in a very robust way with immense clarity. Sometimes.
Senior economic advisor to President William Ruto has urged all leaders to unite the nation. Speaking in Embu County, Moses Kuria has urged all the leaders to bury their differences and work for Kenyans, echoing a statement that had earlier been stated by President William Ruto and his deputy in a church service in Nairobi County on Sunday. Here are the details.
Ile kazi mpya ambayo nimebakisha kabla ya kwenda mbinguni ni kazi ya kushikanisha viongozi wote.
The language of uniting the nation has turned into a gospel spoken by leaders from both sides of the government, and Moses Kuria, a senior economic advisor to President William Ruto, has followed the path of his boss, aimed to champion for the national unity.
Kwa hivyo jameni, tuendelee kushikana pamoja na tukue watu wa kufanya hesabu ya kupita. Na tuwe watu watulivu. Bishop, unajua wakati Samuel aliingia kwa nyumba ya Jesse, akamwekelea mafuta Daudi, na kulikuwa na kiongozi alikuwa anaitwa Sauli. Baada ya Daudi kumwagiliwa mafuta, mnajua alikojea miaka mingapi kati ya akuwe mfalme? Miaka 22, na nyinyi miaka 2 mnashindwa kuvumilia.
Kuria's statement translates to President Ruto's message to Kenyans that he released on Sunday, just a day after the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was removed from office through impeachment.
Neno la Mungu katika Mathayo 5:9 inasema heri wapatanishi, wale wanaunganisha watu, kwa sababu wataitwa wana wa Mungu. So to all of you who are working for the unity of the people of Kenya, as the words of Matthew says, you will truly be blessed, and your names shall be in a place as the children of God. So sote kama viongozi tuliopata baraka ya uongozi, tuunganishe wananchi wetu wa Kenya.
But even as President William Ruto and his team keep championing for the national unity, other members of the clergy have decided to crack the whip and clear the air to spill the beans on their disappointment on Ruto's government.
All the way till now, I have always been thinking that this government is a government of God.
Kwa maana wakati huu wote nilikuwa nafikiria serikali hii ni serikali ya Mungu.
Because it's the one we voted for.
Kwa maana ndio tulioichagua.
To our embarrassment.
Lakini kwa aibu yetu,
It's a government of fight.
Ni serikali ya vita.
I was so concerned.
Nilikuwa na hisia sana.
And I know the politicians in this house, you get disappointed with me today.
Na najua wanasiasa katika nyumba hii mtaweza
Instead of us
badala yetu sisi
measuring on the things that concern us, the economy of the nation, how we can build ourselves, how we can do this, how we can have better health systems.
Kuhusika na mambo ya maana kama kujenga uchumi wetu.
You arm yourselves.
Yani mnajivaa
without
silaha.
Not giving us a notice.
Hata bila kutupatia
we are
notisi.
Also going to arm ourselves.
Hata nasi tutachukua silaha.
As Dr. President William Ruto and Professor Kithure Kindiki join their path together, will their intellectualism breed positive results in the country?
His Excellency
Davis Karani, GBS News.
the Constitution to His Excellency.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on the 2nd of November made his first public appearance ever after his impeachment from the office, just a day after Professor Kithure Kindiki was sworn in as his replacement. In the former Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who attended a burial ceremony of Wanjiru Munyi at Kabare village in Kirinyaga County, the former second in command posed himself and gave a challenge to the elected leaders from the Mount Kenya region to act and do a proper representation of their people and front-lift the issues affecting them, the same way they fastened his impeachment.
Rais hatuna shida na yeye, sisi unajua tunataka tumpatie nafasi. Hiyo miaka 3 zile ahadi alipeana afanye nini? Atimize, si ndio? Ndio arudi kwetu tena, si ndio? So kila mtu apewe nafasi yake afanye kazi yake. Kwa sababu sisi tulitoa ahadi mingi sana. Na mimi ninajivunia ya kwamba katika kazi rais alinipea ya kahawa, tulifanya kazi kubwa sana ya kuleta reforms, na Coffee Bill 2023 iko katika bunge la kitaifa, na tulifanya kazi sana na Senator Morango, Gacheri na wengine. Muongeleshe hawa, ile speed walitumia kunitoa, watumie hiyo speed kupitisha hiyo bila ya kahawa. Ipitishwe na usiku yako kwa Kenya gazeti, na asubuhi rais apelekewe aweke nini? Si ya kunitoa ilikuwa haraka sana. Hii ya kahawa imekaa mwaka moja. Sasa tunataka kuwauliza wabunge wetu, hasa wale wametoka hapa kwa Mlima Kenya, pahali kwa kahawa, the same speed and efficiency that you displayed in the National Assembly to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, use the same speed and efficiency to pass the Coffee Bill 2023 to become law.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. You have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Assessments are conducted twice a year. We have the May-June examinations and the October-November examinations in a given year.
Welcome to the 254 Trivia Game Show, where every second counts and the stakes are sky high.
Get ready for jaw-dropping challenges, mind-bending questions, and unbeatable fun.
Who will rise to the top and claim the ultimate prize?
Tune into GBS TV and let the games begin.
Don't miss out. This is the 254 Trivia Game Show. Good luck.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. In a proactive and strategic move to safeguard public health, Kenya is set to launch its Mpox vaccination campaign in December 2024. This initiative comes in response to a concerning rise in cases of a newly identified strain of the virus that has already impacted several countries across the African continent. The Ministry of Health aims to prioritize high-risk populations, demonstrating a commitment to protecting vulnerable communities as part of a broader effort to control outbreak. As the countdown to December begins, health officials are mobilizing resources and securing vaccine supplies to ensure a swift and effective rollout. Here are the details.
The Ministry of Health in Kenya is preparing for a significant public health initiative with the upcoming launch of its Mpox vaccination campaign set to begin in December 2024. This critical effort aims to protect high-risk populations from a newly identified strain of the virus, responding to an alarming rise in Mpox cases that has been observed across several African nations. As part of this initiative, Kenya will join the ranks of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, and Nigeria, becoming the fourth African country to implement a nationwide Mpox vaccination program. Health officials are emphasizing the urgency of this campaign given the recent surge in the infections and the potential for further spread if proactive measures are not taken.
Probably by the end of the year, then we should have received some doses which we can start deploying to the most at risk. We are working very, very closely with the Africa CDC so that we can be taken through the required procedures to be able to request for these vaccines.
The Africa Center for Disease Control has confirmed that it currently holds 5.6 million doses of the Mpox vaccine, which will be prioritized for distribution to vulnerable communities throughout Kenya. In addition to collaborating with the Africa CDC, the Kenyan government is actively exploring independent avenues to secure additional vaccine supplies, ensuring a comprehensive response to health threats posed by the virus. As the December launch date approaches, health authorities are urging at-risk individuals to stay informed about vaccination plans and take necessary precautions. With this concerned effort, Kenya aims to mitigate the impact of Mpox and protect the health of its citizens. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
In a significant development in the tragic case involving the murders of a mother, her daughter, and her 12-year-old niece, detectives have arrested Hashim Dagane following an extensive investigation and widespread manhunt. Currently in police custody, Mohammed is scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow at the Kadara Chief Magistrate Court. Authorities remain committed to ensuring justice for the victims and their grieving families as investigations unfolds. Here is more on the same.
Detectives have made a breakthrough in the investigations into the tragic murders of a mother, her daughter, and her 12-year-old niece. Hashim Dagane was arrested after a thorough investigation and manhunt that drew significant public concern. Dagane had been evading law enforcement for 12 days before his arrest, during which he was linked to the horrific murders of 3 women whose bodies were discovered in various locations across Nairobi and Machakos. On Saturday, detectives intensified their search after CCTV footage showed Dagane in a building in Eastleigh, where extensive manhunt was initiated, with investigators tracking his movement through forensic evidence. Despite using multiple phone numbers to evade capture, Dagane was ultimately apprehended on Sunday in Kamukunji. The investigations continues as authorities seek to understand the motive behind the murders and whether he acted alone or with accomplices. Currently in police custody, Dagane is scheduled to be arraigned at the Madaraka Chief Magistrate Court as authorities remain committed to ensuring justice for the victims and their devastated families. Meanwhile, the family of Willis Ayeko, the late Wells Fargo Human Resource Manager, has expressed gratitude to the government for its efforts in bringing his killers to justice in a candlelight vigil that was held in Siaya town. During the vigil organized by the Siaya Political Forum, Ayeko's brother Agri Onyango praised the government's response and commended Governor James Orengo and Alego Usonga Member of Parliament Samuel Atandi for their active involvement in the investigation.
But I want to assure you, quietly, this is for you. the government is good just because of two great men. My friend, the governor, James Orengo, camped in Nairobi for 2 days, Kiambu Road, insisting that he wanted to know who killed Willis. These things happening, they are not for nothing. Honorable Tandi was with him. These great men were in mortuary, sitting there the whole day, a place that you couldn't be. And I'm wondering why my brother would die such a cruel, sad, inhuman death.
Sylvester Okoth, the Siaya County Executive for Agriculture, remembered Ayeko as peace-loving individual who avoided conflict.
Willis was a fine gentleman who would never engage in any altercation that would raise tensions or that would make people feel angry or upset. When things got out of hand, he would calmly use diplomatic language to say, wawege kanyo, kata wamibura nyao, so that we don't expand or lead to tensions within the forum.
Dr. Edgar Otumba, the County Executive Committee member for Education and former university colleague, condemned the brutal nature of the murder, questioning the need for such violence.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, in my mind, I could be wrong. In my mind, whoever wanted Willis dead should not have done it the way they did it. I saw that video. For 2 minutes, I deleted it. I want that video out of my mind. You don't do that. Why do you have to maim somebody that way? For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. I don't want to know what the reasons were. But whatever they are, you don't do that.
Ayeko was reported missing on October 18th after attending a funeral. His body was found on October 23rd near a stream on the Siaya-Kakamega boundary. Authorities have arrested 2 suspects, while 2 others died in a confrontation with the police during the investigation. The community continues to seek justice and clarity surrounding the circumstances of Ayeko's death. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Kenyans will now have free access to the Uber app following a partnership between Uber and Safaricom to provide free mobile data to app users to enable easier downloads and usage. Safaricom has zero-rated the app to enable free use by drivers and delivery partners on the Uber and Uber Eats app, as well as riders, with Uber covering the cost. Here is our story and more in business.
Ride-hailing platform Uber has partnered with Safaricom to provide free data bundles to drivers, delivery partners, and riders using the Uber and Uber Eats apps. In this arrangement, Safaricom has zero-rated the Uber apps, allowing free access with Uber covering the costs. This collaboration is also set to benefit Uber Eats customers and merchants across Kenya, enabling them to use the app data-free. According to Uber, limited mobile data is a barrier for many Kenyans, particularly in rural areas, to access mobility options such as Uber Boda. In other news updates, farmers in Kirinyaga County are now reaping big from irrigation projects initiated by the county government. The projects, aimed at increasing access to irrigation water supply, have enabled thousands of households to undertake subsistence farming, thus increasing agricultural productivity, enhancing food security, and uplifting the living standards for many families in the rural areas.
I farm through the Kiamuka water projects that has enabled us to actually do the current farming that is in horticulture farming. Initially, we had a lot of challenges, especially when it came to farming, due to lack of enough water. But now with this project, we can be able to sustain.
Ndio tunatumia hata kwa ng'ombe, tunapatia ng'ombe, na hata kuosha mboma ya ng'ombe tunaosha naye. Kwa hivyo tunafurahi sana kwa hii mradi na tunaomba iendelee.
This is just one of the impacts and the results of a well-coordinated plan by Her Excellency to make sure that our people benefit, and we are demonstrating that this is one of the many success stories that Kirinyaga County government has partnered with the community to make sure that we boost water for irrigation as well as water for domestic use.
In other business news, major markets in China and Germany have expressed their opposition to European Union's decision to impose additional tariffs on China-made electric vehicles, which they said is protectionist and harmful. The newly added tariffs, which are already in place and will be valid for 5 years, stand at 7.8% for Tesla, 18.8% for Geely, and 35.3% for SAIC Motor. In addition, the EU's existing 10% duty on imported cars. Other Chinese EV makers face an average tariff of 20.7%, with the rates reaching up to 35.5% for those classified as non-cooperative. The decision, announced on Tuesday, came after a month-long of EU investigation, claiming EV makers in China are receiving unfair state subsidies. The Chinese government and car makers have reportedly said the allegations are groundless. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Kirinyaga County Assembly leadership has urged the government to deliver the promises after the removal of Rigathi Gachagua. Led by Kirinyaga County Assembly Speaker Muteti Muremi, they say they fully support the government, asking the parliamentarians to be good oversights to ensure all promises made in the last general election be fulfilled. Meanwhile, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, joined President William Ruto, Nairobi, Governor Johnson Sakaja, and other leaders today to celebrate a historic milestone, the 72nd anniversary of the African Divine Church. Held at the Nairobi Primary School grounds, the events honored the church's long-standing role in shaping Kenya's moral and spiritual landscape. Beris Kego with more from the counties.
Then from there, we are no longer told about the map.
Kirinyaga County Assembly leaders, led by Speaker Muteti Muremi, have urged the government to fulfill development promises made during the last election. Speaking at a Thanksgiving ceremony for nominated MCA Irene Gadhuku at ACK Church Kimbigo in Kirugoya, Muremi expressed the Assembly full support for the government and called on parliamentarians to provide oversight to ensure accountability.
Mimi nataka kuwaomba tushikilie hii serikali, tuhakikishe, and I request our parliamentarian to be good oversighters to make sure that whichever project, whichever promise it is to be fulfilled.
He added that during the new Deputy President's upcoming visit to Kirinyaga, local leaders would present all pending projects and outline a plan for their completion. Deputy Speaker Njinaro Jamumu has said it is high time for the Kenyan people to maintain peace and leave politics to the politician, adding that they have learned a lesson and going forward they will be signing agreements with other parties before coalition.
Sisi tunaomba hivi, tuwe na umoja katika Kirinyaga yetu kwa sababu Kirinyaga comes first. Wakati tunaongea maneno ya region, sisi kama wa Kirinyaga tunasema Kirinyaga comes first.
Mutira Ward MCA Kenywa Kawangoi asked Professor Kithure Kindiki to make sure that project to benefit the Kenyan people be fast-tracked into coffee and milk sector.
Our president, our prayer and our appeal is that we promised our people guaranteed minimum returns on our coffee, on our tea, and on our milk. That's the only thing that we may do as a demand unto you and unto your government.
Meanwhile,
Vine kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya nasema asante sana. And I don't take it for
na mumekuwa na sheria ya kikanisa ambayo imehakikisha kwamba transition inakuwa nzuri, na sasa tuko hapa siku ya leo na tuna matumaini kwamba miaka zingine 73 ziko kule mbele zinakuja.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That report brings us to our international news, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
Today we are going to have the Scouts Corner.
Drop. Tease.
Let. Cheese. Let.
And I'm joined with two wonderful schools. Firstly, we have the Kings and Queens Academy. And we have the SEK St. Elizabeth Academy. Hi. We'll be having different segments. And the first segment, we'll have the Bible knowledge.
Now, Maureen's father works in a place where believers were first called Christians. The place is called?
The third segment will have the spelling bee.
We have 30 seconds to give your answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Amazing.
NINTY 90. CHOCOLATE chocolate.
Meet us every day on Saturday, same place, same time.
Leo tutakuwa tunaangazia masuala mengi kuhusu uongozi na maendeleo, na pia tutakuwa tunaangalia uongozi wa kuigwa na vijana. Kuna idara za serikali, kuna tume ya EACC, kuna idara za mahakama na kuna parliament, lakini tumeshindwa kutekeleza chapter 6 of Kenyan Constitution to the point that ya kwamba watoto wachanga ndio wanatuonyesha jinsi ya ndio wanatuweka katika mistari sabamba ya kuratibisha kifungu cha 6 cha katiba ya Kenya.
When we try tukijaribu sana kuangalia mambo politically na tuangalie vizuri pande hii nyingine ya kijamii, nafikiri hapa kuna kuwa na mwanya katikati, na hiyo mwanya ndiyo ambayo sasa imekuja kujazwa na hii generation.
What has it this far that now they are saying enough is enough?
Wakati Daktari William Samoei Ruto alichukua hatamu za uongozi, mnakumbuka ya kwamba the opposition walianza zile demonstrations zao za kusema the cost of living imeenda juu sana. Ijaribu kushukishwa kidogo ili watu wakue na muamana katika nchi. Na hiyo pia iliadhiri serikali yake pakubwa.
Sababu ya watu kwenda kwa maandamano ilikuwa kutoridhika na mambo yanavyofanywa. Wakati finance bill ilipitishwa na wakati tunaangalia sababu ya zenyewe kupitishwa, tunaona si sababu za kusaidia vijana.
What's happened after the Kenya Kwanza imereduce still wanamwandamania?
So ile ambayo wananchi wa Kenya wanakasirika ni kwa sababu we are expecting leaders, and especially led by the president, to be giving us policies that can give effect to Article 43 of the Kenyan Constitution.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Kenya and China are working together in the implementation of development projects in the country, released the two countries' strategic partnership. The president said Kenya is eager to reap the benefits of the projects to enhance transformative development and alleviate poverty. He pointed out that discussions are advanced stage over the Rironi-Mau Summit trade, while talks are going over the extension of the SGR-2B Naivasha to Kisumu and SGR-2C Kisumu to Malaba. He spoke during a meeting with Li Si, a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of Communist Party of China, Central Committee and Secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection at State House, Nairobi. The president thanked China for supporting priority projects, including the Nairobi Intelligent Transport System, equipping technical colleges, and the Boston Dam Water Project. President Ruto commended China for successfully hosting the 2024 summit of the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation, which was charted a new path for a robust partnership in modernization. Mr. Li emphasized China's support for people-centered approach to national development, including provision of quality education and healthcare, job creation, and environmental protection and preservation.
We are very happy to note that under the leadership of your Honorable, Kenya is enjoying a sound momentum of economic development with increasing regional and international influence. We congratulate you on your efforts. Over the past 2 years, your Honorable have met with President Xi Jinping twice. In particular, in September this year, during the FOCAC Beijing Summit, you also met with His Excellency President Xi Jinping, and you agreed that Kenya and China should be sincere partners of mutual trust, cooperative partners of mutual benefit and win-win results, and strategic partners in upholding fairness and justice. This has pointed out the direction for the development of our relations under the new circumstances. I'm here in Kenya with the CPC delegation to implement the important common understandings between you and President Xi Jinping, as well as the outcomes of the FOCAC Beijing Summit, so as to promote the in-depth and continuous development of our comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership.
It was an honor, Your Excellency, for me to join President Xi and fellow African heads of state and government under the Beijing Action Plan 2025 in setting a common strategic plan for the partnership between our continent and China. And Kenya, I want to assure you, is committed to promoting this partnership across Africa and also upholding the One China policy.
我同其他非洲的国家领导人同习近平主席一道。
And now to matters international news. This year's Day of the Dead celebrations in Haiti was starkly subdued by escalating violence and gun control in Port-au-Prince, cast a shadow over traditional rituals honoring ancestors, with many fearing for their safety. The vibrant gatherings that usually fill the cemeteries were replaced by an unsettling silence, reflecting the growing insecurity that grips the nation. Here is a full report.
As Haitians gather to commemorate the Day of the Dead, a significant voodoo festival, the mood is somber. For many, the annual tradition of visiting cemeteries to honor their ancestors was overshadowed by fear and insecurity. In the capital, Port-au-Prince, few people ventured out to the main cemetery where the spirit of Baron Semedi, the guardian of the dead, is believed to reside. The cemetery, located in an area under the control of warring gangs, has become a symbol of the escalating violence that has plagued Haiti since February. United Nations reports indicate that from July to September, over 1,740 people were killed or injured, marking a nearly 30% increase from the previous trimester. Raymond Valsin, director of the National Cemetery, lamented the absence of pilgrims and merchants who typically fill the grounds during this sacred time.
It's because of the insecurity that the day is very different from the past. The people, the Gede pilgrims, and the merchants who used to come did not come. There's nothing.
As candles flicker and altars remain largely unadorned, the spirit of resilience among the Haitian people is tested. The blend of West African religion and Catholicism that forms the foundation of voodoo has always been a sense of strength. However, this year, the celebrations are tempered by the harsh reality of insecurity and fear that looms over the nation. The challenges, many Haitians hold on to the hope that the traditions and the spirits of their ancestors will provide them with protection in these tumultuous times. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
In the final days before the U.S. election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are conducting last-minute appeal to voters in key battleground states. Harris focuses on a message of unity and maintaining democracy at a historically black church in Detroit and spoke to Arab Americans in Michigan about the war in Gaza. Well, Trump took to Pennsylvania with aggressive rhetoric aimed at the Democratic Party and the media. Polls show the race is close as both candidates aim to rally their core supporters. Abdi Hamid Ali has more details.
With only a day left, both candidates are going all out to win over voters in key states. Vice President Kamala Harris, speaking at Greater Emmanuel Church in Detroit, called on Americans to take action.
What kind of country do we want to live in? What kind of country do we want for our children and our grandchildren? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, justice, and compassion? And the great thing about living in a democracy, as long as we can hold on to it, is that we have the power, each of us, to answer that question. So I'll close by saying, let us answer then, not just with our words, but with our works. Not just with our faith, but with our feet as we walk to the polls.
Harris later addressed Michigan Arab American community in East Lansing, emphasizing her commitment to ending the violence in Gaza.
And I want to say, this year has been difficult, given the scale of death and destruction in Gaza, and given the civilian casualties and displacement in Lebanon. It is devastating. And as president, I will do everything in my power to end the war in Gaza. To bring home the hostages, end the suffering in Gaza, ensure Israel is secure, and ensure the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, freedom, security, and self-determination.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump held a rally in Pennsylvania where his language became more intense, at times even hostile, as he called Democrats a demonic party.
But this is a group of people, large group of people, larger than people think, but it's a very demonic party. It's become that way. The people aren't. The people, Democrats, regular Democrats aren't.
Trump later made a controversial comment against the media.
A piece of glass over here. And I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here. But all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind.
More than 78 million Americans have already voted, almost half of the total turnout in 2020. This election could also shift control of the Congress, with the Republicans hoping to gain the Senate majority, while Democrats might flip the House. Results may take several days, as officials have warned, but Trump has urged the counts to be finalized on election night.
Go to paper ballots, you ought to go to voter ID. And you ought to have the election over by 9 o'clock. I'm hearing now they're going to take weeks.
Democrats, however, are prepared to respond to any premature declarations from Trump, with plans in place to protect the integrity of the vote. With the divisiveness of the current political landscape, tomorrow's election day is shaping to be the most dramatic and historic election in American history. This is Abdulhamid Ali, GBS News.
In Israel, a suspected leak of classified documents involving an aide to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is sending shockwaves through the political sphere and angering families of hostages held by Hamas. On Sunday, the magistrate partially lifted the gag order. The families, who have been long pushing for a deal to bring their loved ones home, are now demanding answers about how this leak could affect the ongoing negotiations. Here are more details.
A leak of classified documents has caused a political firestorm in Israel and public outrage and a condemnation to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A magistrate ruling on Sunday partially lifted a gag order, shedding light on a case where classified information from the Israeli military may have been taken without permission. The Rishon LeZion Magistrate Court warned that the leak could create serious risk to state security and hinder efforts to secure the release of hostages held in Gaza. The investigation centers on 4 suspects, including a spokesperson from Netanyahu's circle, Eli Fieldstein, and 3 members of the security establishment. Details of the leaked document first appeared in the German newspaper Bild, which published what it described as an exclusive look into the Hamas negotiation strategy. During September, mediators from the US, Qatar and Egypt were trying to broker a ceasefire agreement that will have included a hostage release. However, talks broke down with Israel and Hamas blaming each other for the stalemate. Adding to the emotional toll, the leak emerged shortly after the tragic discovery of 6 Israeli hostages who were killed in the Hamas tunnel 2 months ago. This sparked protests in Israel, with families accusing Netanyahu of jeopardizing talks for political purposes. Some of the hostages' families joined journalists in appealing for the gag order to be fully lifted. Their lawyer, Dana Pugach, argued that these families have been subjected to a cycle of speculation and uncertainty.
The last year, they have been waiting to hear any intelligence or any information about any negotiation.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has denied any misconduct by his staff, asserting that he only learned of the leak through media reports. 1,139 Israelis were killed since October last year. Israel estimates that 101 hostages are still held in captivity by Hamas in Gaza. Hopes for ceasefire continues to fade as the death toll continues to rise daily, with 44,142 Palestinians killed. This is Abdi Hamid.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now for sports lovers, it is time for your most anticipated part of the news, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Korea DPR are the 2024 Under-17 Women World Cup champions after defeating champions Spain 4-3 on post-match penalties after a 1-1 draw in an entertaining final staged at the Felix Sanchez Stadium in the Dominican Republic. The Asian country, which was in Group C alongside Kenya's Junior Starlets, won the title in 2016 in Jordan and in 2008 in New Zealand against Japan and USA respectively. The United States of America secured a third-place finish after defeating England 3-0 to bag the bronze. Here are the details.
North Korea's players celebrated with the trophy after winning the FIFA Under-17 Women's Football World Cup 2024 final match between North Korea and Spain at the Olympico Felix Sanchez Stadium in Santo Domingo. Spain kicked off the match on a high and got their first shot on target in the second minute after Segura Celia was set up by Agrizabala, but his shot went direct to the Korea keeper. Despite Korea having no shot on target in the first half, both teams went for a break in a stalemate.
But it's just collected on the line. Delacueta's trying to defend here against Jay, but she crosses. Runs free, the shot is saved by Lopez, and Laya Lopez got down well to deny.
It was, however, Spain who pulled the trigger first at the hour mark when Celia Segura gave the Europeans the lead, connecting Comendando's pause cross from the left flank.
The lead in the World Cup final. Celia Segura has done it.
However, Korea responded immediately through John Il-chong, who capitalized on Spain's defensive error to slot home in an empty net, a goal which attracted a lengthy VAR review.
John Il-chong! Comendador on the way. She's going to get to this. Brilliant from Comendador. Sarato! What a save that is by Park Ju-kyung! It's finished, and that means penalties. Comendador. Oh, it's missed. 3-3. Kang has done it. Win on penalties. Korea DPR take the trophy.
Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
Kenya's Sheila Chepkirui won the New York Marathon Women's title in her race debut in a time of 2 hours, 24 minutes and 35 seconds. Helen Obiri, the 2023 New York Marathon winner and Olympic bronze medalist, was 14 seconds back in second, with Vivian Cheruiyot completing a Kenyan podium sweep in 2 hours, 25 minutes and 21 seconds. In the men's contest, Abdi Nageye of the Netherlands clocked 2 hours, 7 minutes and 39 seconds to claim the 2024 title. The Somalia-born Dutchman beat Kenya's Evans Chebet by 6 seconds, with Albert Korir rounding up the podium in 2 hours and 8 minutes. Kenya's Sheila Chepkirui, who set an impressive marathon personal best of 2 hours and 17 minutes and 29 seconds in Valencia in 2022, showcased her strength on demanding the New York course as she upstaged Obiri for the title in her first time of asking in the streets of the Big Apple. Obiri was eyeing to repeat her last year's feat when she became the first woman in 34 years to win both the Boston and the New York City Marathon in the same year, following her Boston win in April. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here at GBS News at 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.